Hi everyone, welcome back at the Global AI Community AI Talks Live. So glad we're back this year, and of course we're gonna kick some asses today with we're just gonna talk about last year. Well, we'll keep it positive. We will not talk about too many negative things that we all talk about every day. And we're also gonna look forward to next year, what's going to happen with the community, what can we expect in Azure AI, and so on. So happy to have you all here and welcome.
Hey, my name's Akansha Malik and I'm from Melbourne.
Excellent, Sammy. It's Val here.
Hi, I'm Alan Smith.
Hi, I'm Amy.
Hey, name a test. I come from Spain.
I'm Prasant from California.
大家好，我是卢建辉。
My name is Lance. I'm Alpha Cassie from Australia.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Marsman from the United States.
Hi, I'm Akita Gupta from India.
Hi,
I'm Matthew Renton from the USA.
I'm Joe Spizak from California. Hi, Midi Eddie Daoud from Africana.
Hi, I'm Ana Famana.
Merhaba, ben Türkiye'den Daron Yönden.
Hi there. Hi.
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 Hi. Hi.
Hoi hoi. So happy to have you all on board today for season 2 of AI Talks. And as you might have seen, I have my friend, it's on the other side, Henk here with me, and underneath me here, Amy. Thanks for joining, Amy and Henk. How are you guys doing?
Oh, thank you for having us. Yeah, not too bad. What are we at? We're Thursday. It's been, it's just so busy. Everything's so busy all the time at the moment, but thank you for inviting us on. This is a treat.
You, Henk, everything okay?
Yes, everything going well here. And indeed, it's Thursday evening, rush hour at the house almost. Everyone coming back.
True. I think if you look at last year, our whole 2020 was a rush.
Yes.
Indeed.
From one team's meeting to the other team's meeting to the other team's meeting to the other team's meeting, right?
And then we go to bed and we start again.
All over again. But Henk, are you in the London reactor?
Yes, I'm in the London reactor, yes. Virtually, of course.
Virtually, of course.
I think this is the place here where we first recorded our keynote for the first Global AI Bootcamp ever.
Yeah. Interestingly, before this session, I was crawling through the Global AI Community YouTube and just seeing how many different videos were produced in 2020, but then also some of those amazing keynotes and different sessions that we did in the London Reactor. And yeah, hopefully we'll get that back there soon.
It's crazy. I made actually a list of all the things we did last year. I'll just share it with you all. It's like we started with the AI nights and the AI bootcamps in 2019, but this year we added the virtual tour, all because we couldn't do physical events anymore. So hey, why not do virtual world tours? And so many more new stuff that I added.
Gosh, the virtual tour, right, was literally, the idea was that it would be in person. And I did, like, when we changed and Henk and Sammy and everyone at Global AI Bootcamp, Global AI Community, made it that we went online and we did the whole 30-hour piece. Oh my goodness. I think people saw I hosted from like 3 different rooms in my house because it was 3 different times of the day. It was phenomenal for that first kind of live event, but online and completely virtual, but still bringing in people from across the world. So impressive. I'm so glad we did that. It was such good fun and so insightful.
It was indeed quite fun, but if you think about it, strange hours we had to wake up, that was another thing.
I think I actually pulled a mattress into my office and slept under my desks.
Oh, serious?
Hoping that the VM was not going to go down.
You were literally like tech support, right, for the whole thing. And so switching between everything. And then I think Willem from the Global AI Community, he took a turn as well. I didn't trust myself with the backstage duty, goodness me. But what a fantastic job. That was so impressive.
Indeed.
Yeah, and
And
then we
then
have StreamYard, which
which made things so much easier. I remember my first AI talks, well, let's say our first three, how I was struggling with OBS and then a virtual machine to not lose connections and to have enough memory to be able to run everything. And then you have StreamYard. Thank you, StreamYard. Who at that time, I think it was still at 720p, was not streaming in high definition yet. So all these kind of things pushed, like made things go. Well, just think about how COVID has changed the events industry, the virtual event industry. Everyone started streaming stuff. And yeah, also I guess companies like StreamYard and Restreamer and so on, and they had probably the best years ever.
Yeah. And the fun thing is that we really looked at when we are going to do online events, how streamers were already doing it for years. Because all the stuff I at least have in my house, like a Stream Deck and my key lights and my microphones, are all picked from like the gaming industry.
So thank you, gamers.
Yes.
I know, yeah. Thank you. That was a lot to learn, wasn't there?
Yeah, but I also think one thing the global AI community did this year was helping other local communities get online. We helped them with getting StreamYard licenses. We built a global AI live website, enabled people to be able to stream their events through the global AI YouTube platform, which already had lots of subscribers. In many different languages. I think we started in Lima and we moved up to India, and we have people streaming from Australia also.
Yeah, because we had AI talks, which I started around February last year, and then I think it was in November we had our first AI podcast, which is actually almost the same as AI talks, but down under. So because our time zones, of course, are totally different, and that way, you have another group of people who can still listen. And they had the concept was a bit different also, but
and no slides, right?
And no slides, just talking. Yeah, because they also, if you think about the community in Australia, they really have some nice concepts also, like the happy hours where people just talk to each other and talk about specific topics, which are also very fun.
Yeah, I was going to say, I really like the idea of the podcast, because especially when I don't know about where everyone else is in the world where you're watching, but I know here we're like, to keep myself sort of going and healthy, I'm trying to get outside a bit more, even if it's just 10 minutes, walk around the block sort of thing, bit of fresh air. It will just help me like recenter for my afternoon or evening calls with the US or whatever it is. And podcasts are like becoming a thing for me now. Like, I wouldn't have really necessarily have got too into it. It had to be a really good podcast for me to get into it. But now, like, they're so great if there's something that I can just walk and listen to. A bit like audiobooks, right? They're always really good as well. So I love that we can do that with tech. I sometimes feel like I always go, oh, how am I going to I normally show people like services and technology, but I think there's a lot of stories around tech that are like just as powerful. So I love the idea of a podcast.
Indeed. So that all happened last year. Of course, we're planning to do a lot of new events, of course, this year also. And I made a small list of items that we're planning to do this year. So you might see that everything is coming back, actually. We're going to do again our AI nights. We'll have organized 2 of them this year around the week of the 14th of April. We'll have our AI night and the week of 6th of September. But then we're also going to redo our virtual tour, the 30-hour stream. So you can travel around the world starting at, I think it was 10 a.m. Australia time and ending in the evening in Seattle. So really looking forward to that again. And I think our October sessions were really a success also. We did this year in October. where we really discussed specific topics, had panel discussions, had some CEOs of big companies who talked about what they are doing with AI around that specific topic. I still remember the session about NLP when someone from VMware came, and we were like, what is VMware doing with NLP? Yeah, because people mostly know them of virtualization. But then the things they were doing was so amazing. And all the other stories we heard from other people, it's like, okay, there's still a lot of work to do in the AI sector.
Yeah. Sammy, me and you were you were in person host. I was a virtual host. That was such good fun for the NLP session, wasn't it? So we did getting started with AI, computer vision, natural language processing, and then advanced AI. And so go check them out on YouTube, or they are on this website that you might be watching us from. So globalai.live. Go and take a look. I in the NLP session, the spacey talk was just so exciting from Inez, and it was just such a good session that she put on for us. Highly recommend go and take a look at all of it. It was great.
Yeah, if you still want to watch them, you can still go to globalai.live. Just click on October sessions, and you'll see an overview. Even we've split it up: panel discussion or the keynote session, and so on. So that's a nice place to go.
So 14th April is AI Night. Can you explain a little bit what the AI Nights are going to be?
Yeah. So AI Nights and AI bootcamps are different compared to virtual tour and October sessions, because AI Nights and AI bootcamps is something that the communities underneath the Global AI community are going to organize. So the local communities, so they can have, we hope, maybe not the 14th of April, but let's please hope on the 6th of September that we can do in-person events again, and we can do workshops together on an evening, have a live session from some people. But again, organized local in your community that you're used to go to. So maybe you're from Singapore, you will visit a place in Singapore. Are you from the US? Maybe you go to a session in New York. Are you from Belgium? Well, maybe here in Brussels or in Amsterdam or in London. So back to the community. Same for the boot camps, and then the virtual tour and the October sessions. Virtual tour is really organized by the Global AI Community Board, where we will still send you out soon a call for papers, so you can submit your sessions that you have. So it's talks by the community. And then the October sessions is also organized by the board, but there it will be selected by specific topics. So last year we did topics like starting with AI, NLP, advanced AI, and so on. And this year we would like to do it a little bit different. And we're looking into sessions around AI and healthcare. So we'll look for some keynotes of maybe a professor or something who will discuss what they are doing, for example, in their university. And they will also see how specific AI services or libraries or packages can be used in the healthcare industry. So we'll do healthcare, we'll do manufacturing, we'll do governmental, and I'm missing one, financial services. So we're also looking forward to organize that. It's still a lot of work in progress, but we'll get there. But we have all these events, but of course we're not sitting still, and we still have these ones also. We'll keep on doing the AI talks. We have still going on the AI podcast. And actually this last month, a new initiative was started by Yves Pardy and Hakim, AI 42, which they're going back to the basics of AI and start with mathematics. So they got some sessions. They started now, I think it's session 3, where they really start with about statistics and stuff. So you can really learn how to start with AI and understand how to build a machine learning model, but really from scratch. So that's also a really cool initiative, and looking forward how that is going to grow in the near future.
Yeah, they're really good.
I love that concept. Yeah, they're kind of back to the basics, because even if you're new to the area, that's perfect. Kind of get that underlying theory sorted. But also, I don't know about you, but even if you have done it in the past, like for example, that Coursera machine learning course, I've done that twice, and I'll probably do it again at some point, because it just kind of gets you back to the basics and true understanding of what's going on, and update you, because obviously as we progress into the AI space, everything feels like it gets more complicated or more democratized. But realistically, like some of those basics, I mean, I think I should be attending some of them. Eve, I'm coming to attend. Just
Yeah, it's AI on itself. It's not easy, but we're glad we have partners or organizations like Microsoft who is trying to democratize AI. We'll see that also all the things they did even this year to make that possible. Now, if we go back to the community and we think about the growth of what has happened this year, well, the community itself already exists out of 19,000 plus 19,000 members, which is like, when I saw that number, it's like, oh, okay, that's a lot of people. And in 2020, we even grew with 7,500 people. So that's humongous amount of people. And in total, we've organized over 250 events in 20 countries. So I think we can be quite proud of what has happened with the community. And let's hope we can increase those numbers in the coming years. Henk, now I think you should play one of your sounds.
Oh, yeah.
at least it wasn't the you're on mute one.
No.
True. But to my opinion, all of these results are mostly possible because of actually two people and one organization. And therefore, I want to thank you, Henk, and also Willem, for all the work and time you guys have been investing in the community, because that's been incredibly how much time. So thank you very much for that. Also Microsoft for keep on sponsoring us and making this happen, that we could create goodies and send to people all over the world. So that's
half of it came back to my house.
I remember you were telling me you were packing t-shirts and stickers to send.
I was packing stickers. I think it was in February, just before everything closed. So I shipped around 100 packages, and I think at least 50 came back, and they're still coming back every week.
Oh, serious?
Sometimes there is even mail from other people in the package. I got letters from people, and they were just shipped back to me.
So when you dropped them at the post at the mail, did you needed like a cart or something to bring them all, or how did you handle it?
Yeah, we had like my son and me, we had shopping carts in the supermarket. Fill them up with packages and drive up and down from the car to build it. And then you see the queue behind you growing and growing and growing at the DHL point.
But yeah.
No.
Very great.
I have to say, DHL didn't do a good job delivering the packages.
Well, we're not going to make bad advertisement, I think. Now, Henk is still active within the global AI community, but because he worked, and meanwhile you started working also for Microsoft. I think, when was that, 2018 or 2019?
2019, yeah.
Yeah, but then you're still helping us out. But in the meanwhile, you took a step back. A month ago, Willem also decided, sadly enough, to take a step back in the organization because of personal reasons. We didn't accept his declination or his that he's removing, so he's in some kind of I forgot the word.
Sabbatical.
Exactly, that's the word I was looking for. So with that, I would like to also show you who's the new group behind Global AI Community. It's not 2 people anymore. So we have a group of 6 people at the moment from all different locations from the world. You might know all of them, or maybe know some of them. So as you see, we still kept Willem on the list. We have Alicia, who's based in the US. We have Eve, who's based in Hungary. We have Akanksha, sorry, your name is so difficult, who's based in Australia. We have Dawood, who's based in Ghana. And then I have myself, I'm based in Belgium, and Willem, who's in the Netherlands. So if you have any questions about the Global AI community, you can, of course, use our own Twitter handle. You can email us at hey@globalai.community, or just send a message to any of these people, and we're very happy to help you. Now, that's one point. We look back to the Global AI community this year and last year and this year, but of course we want to talk a bit about tech also. What has changed in the Azure AI stack over 2020? When I was preparing this slide that might not look the best, but I'm glad with this, I was shocked about how many things there are. So we're just gonna run over a couple of things and discuss what we like, what we find amazing, and what we really see potential in. So it all started around January with our first releases. Pre-build. I call it pre-build because before we had built in May, when we were still didn't know about how bad 2020 would be. So we had our new languages that were added to the translator. I think that does need lots of explanation. But what I like is that Microsoft is really trying to add more to local languages. You see here Portuguese, Portugal, because you also have Portuguese Brazil, and they could have said, okay, we have Portuguese and we'll just keep it with that. But there's many differences, and we'll see that later on with other languages that they're adding also. And then we have named entity recognition, which has been enhanced through new features, new entities like events and products, URLs. Especially the PIIs, I personally like a lot, or the personal identifier. Personal identification identifier. I find it such a difficult, long name. But if you think about GDPR, it's a really easy way to be able to clean out your documents and remove personal information. And then we have computer vision, the read API that went to 3.0 in preview, which was really a crazy update in the quality of what was able to recognize. We also had extra languages that was added, like Spanish, and of course some other technical things within the API of how to access them. And then we have Stream Analytics that was able to call the Azure machine learning models, which is also quite nice. You see how everything what you're building within the platform on Azure, everything starts to connect to each other. And I think that's also, to my opinion, the power of Azure.
Yeah, I was going to say the Azure Stream Analytics part with Azure Machine Learning, I cannot believe it was last March, like, number one, but also just the fact that as these services get built, they all start to like cross-collaborate a little bit, and being able to use multiple services together and making that easier, I think is always a great feature when it's released. And yeah, if no one's tried that, definitely go in there if you have kind of real-time data or real-time predictions you're looking to do. It's It's a great way to look at it. Not looked at Azure Stream Analytics in a while, but it's amazing for IoT scenarios. I worked quite a lot with it in the past when we were looking at Internet of Things and connecting to IoT Hub beforehand. There's good connectors between IoT Hub and Azure Stream Analytics as well. And so you can almost do that whole kind of end-to-end piece. And they always tend to, as well, if you don't already know about it, the Microsoft organizational GitHub has so many different code repositories, and a lot of the time they'll do best practice pieces in there. So definitely, go star that organization number one, but also take a look through, because you'll notice a lot of the AI services have some great examples in there. I use it quite a lot for some of the cognitive services APIs. They have some great stuff there.
On my side, Sammy is frozen.
Yeah, same. Sammy, are you there? The joy. Oh, just us then. Oh, the joy of online events.
Cool, so we lost our host and moderator, but because this web-based, we're still on. But without Sammy.
We should be able to, and I'm assuming Sammy will be back at any minute. But Henk, what was your Global AI Community 2020 highlight? What was your kind of favorite, if you had to pick one? Did you have like a favorite session?
So what was fun about for me to do was the Global AI October sessions, because they were we recorded them together in a studio. So we built our own studio, and we had our guests on the TV, on the big virtual TV that was there. And of course, we were all staying at home. That was one of the first time I actually got to meet Willem again and sit in one room with him and chat and talk in real life. Mm-hmm. And I think also because it was a little bit in person, the vibe from that event was a little bit different than from events like this, from the Redux, from your home. Yeah. So that was really a big highlight for me, hoping that it would get better from there. But yeah, 2020 always disappoint. That didn't happen yet.
Yeah, I always think it's quite surprising how quickly we get used to the types of events that are happening now, and then, like you said, anything that's then that one step further or that little bit different is always super refreshing at the moment. I know, we're working a lot on that across lots of different community events and also Microsoft events. So it's very, very exciting. I have a specific session. So when I was going through, and when Sammy comes back, I'll share this with him probably twice. So if you're on the stream for the whole thing, you'll probably hear this twice, but it has to be said. One of my favorite sessions was from the Global AI Virtual Tour, where we were into the 30 hours. I think it was pretty much my second shift of the day. So I think it was like mid-afternoon European time. And it was Vlad, and he did a session using automated ML to solve a Kaggle problem. And there was no slides. He just went straight into notebooks, shared his screen, and then walked through like how he basically solved the Kaggle competition. And I was like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. I don't know why. I just really enjoyed that session. Like, I hung on his every word, and I still haven't had a chance to try it myself. But go to the Global AI Community YouTube. You'll find his session on there, using automated ML to solve Kaggle competitions. And yeah, well worth a watch. Hi, Sammy. Welcome back.
Hi. I'm so sorry. My internet dropped just like that. So I'm on 4G for the moment. Yeah, thanks, Henk.
If you can't laugh, you'll cry.
Yeah, indeed. All right, let's go forward with all the releases. Now we go to build 2020, the first virtual build. Who would ever thought that build was going to be virtual? I think these are just a couple of, there's two slides actually. So we have all the new features within the machine learning service, Yahoo to notebooks within machine learning service, reinforcement learning, and we started the preview of data labeling. But I think the most important part for Builds 2020 was responsible ML. I remember we had the special build episodes, and we talked about all these items, how with specific compute that you can really encrypt your data and still do machine learning on it, the fair learn, all these kind of things. I'm sure Microsoft is still working on more of these kinds of things. And then we go to Conversational AI. I think the Composer finally in GA. I think that was really a big milestone for Microsoft bots. It was really the missing link for many people to start building chatbots. And if we look at all the releases they've been adding lately, it's getting so much better and better. So team of Gary, thanks very much for what you guys are doing there. Because it's that same incredible. Also the amount of channels that are added, like now also Alexa and so on. So then we have, of course, the cognitive. First I wanted to show something, because data labeling might maybe not immediately know what that is. I forgot to show this slide. And now I'm doing just next. That was not the purpose. My dear computer.
I was going to say data labeling.
Yeah,
It's
data
kind of
labeling
part
there.
of
So
the-
it's this one. Yeah. So they actually created and within ML Studio a tool so you can label your pictures like you can do in custom vision, but then create it within, well, to do the labeling. So you could, for example, outsource this and give someone access to only do this kind of work. So as a data scientist, you can really focus on building your machine learning. That's quite a nice extra feature that they added. But keep in mind, this was built as May. It was then in preview. And then we go back to build. We have cognitive search that got extended, that you could call machine learning models also via cognitive search as a skill. So that's really cool. And then a lot of new items for cognitive service. In January, we had the computer vision that went in preview, v3.0, and here in May, we're already going general available. And immediately also added more languages. Louis, who got a new serious update of how to understand text for complex requests. Q&A Maker that got new capabilities for collaboration. And then for me, one of the nicest things is still the neural voices. How accurate and how natural those voices sound that we can use within a voice bot, for example. They're just great. And then we have text analytics also that went, the 3.0 that went into general availability with better sentiment analysis, more NER, so named entity recognition. And a lot of these new services went in GA or in preview already for container services. So you can just run it locally, which I personally think is not always the way to go, but depending on your use case might be very good. If you don't want to send data over the network, or GDPR-wise, you don't really trust to send data over the network, then you can always go for container services.
I was going to say, Henk, you've been building some cool stuff around containers, haven't you, with the cognitive services? I remember you've shared some stuff with me.
Yeah, I just tried them out. I didn't build anything cool yet. I built some demos, but it is really fun to see how easy it is, and you can just pull it in your own network and don't have to worry about your rate limits, about where your data is. You can scale these containers in your own way in your Kubernetes service or ACIs or on your local machine. which is really good for kind of offline scenarios. And you actually have the same capabilities as what you would have in the cloud. So it is just basically switching an endpoint. It is not that you have to rebuild your whole application to use it.
So that's some serious capabilities that got added here, but it doesn't stop it. That's built. We are May 2020. Let's go what comes and goes between Build and Ignite, another big event of Microsoft. We have text analytics opinion mining, which was something totally new. We had already sentiment analysis. And just to give you an example for those who did not get what opinion mining is to really know what subject, based on the subject set in the sentiment. The room was great, but staff wasn't friendly. Well, that could maybe have been a sentiment, quite negative, but because of splitting it up, you could say, okay, this room, that part was positive, and the staff, that was negative. So by basing it on these opinions, if you think about customer feedback, you will get way better results out of this than purely with sentiment analysis.
Yeah, and I think this is such a good example of how Microsoft is making things easier and improving the services, because Amy and I, at the beginning of this year, basically our colleague, made this whole notebook that you could actually do that. You had to train for an hour. And then you had only a subset of your words. I think it was all about closes.
Yeah.
The closest review data set.
Yeah.
And now it is just an API call away.
It's that democratization piece, right? Absolutely. We did it. So but then I guess it's showing that broad, those options available to you in some senses. If there is an API and it does what you need it to do, then cognitive services is just a fantastic route to take. And then if it's not quite what you're looking for, so obviously we did sentiment analysis, but it would apply it to the whole sentence. Now it's aspect-based sentiment analysis or opinion mining that is there. But then when we were doing it, we did it in Azure machine learning. So we were able to write all the code that makes it happen, deploy it as a container, and then access it through an API. And so, it's phenomenal to see the kind of different topics that we do. And then, as you said, it was January that year. And to be honest with you, probably even later, I think I did a ODSC talk on aspect-based sentiment analysis, and that can't have been that long ago. Maybe it was. All the days are flooding into one, but it's awesome to see this. Really, really cool stuff.
That's what we said in the beginning. Microsoft is really trying to democratize AI so everyone can use it, which is nice. You can build very smart applications purely by using cognitive services without writing any code in Python.
Yeah, I think Danny did a great talk about cognitive services on AI Talks, and he showed lots of cool examples of what you can do when you combine these services together.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're in the summer, July. Quite a lot of stuff that got released in AI. Text analytics for healthcare, I think. With everything that is going on, I think this was the perfect time to create, it's named entity recognition purely on medical terms, of course, which is really cool. So if you want to do analysis of medical documents, this is the place the service to use. Then speech custom commands. So, sounds cool. Instead of saying, hey, Cortana, you could just make your own assistant and say, hey, Amy, do the dishes for me. Machine Learning Studio that finally goes into GA. It's been a preview for so long, but there it was. A lot of new voices that got added into neural voice. We had 50 new voices, not languages, voices. A new feature that was added to machine learning that you could have a step to output data sets to write your results to somewhere else. Form Recognizer version 2 already, which also you had some tryouts with Form Recognizer also, Amy.
Yeah, Forms Recognizer is it's something that just continuously comes up as something useful. Like every time I do a session about Forms Recognizer, or I work with people inside Microsoft that are building Forms Recognizer content, it just really is such a good one for customers out there who are looking to digitize processes, as well as just extract data and insights from maybe things that are more analog still. It's, we sometimes probably make too many assumptions that we're all digital now, and that's, and even then, right, when it's in PDF format, how do we truly extract value from this, what we used to call like dark data, something that we couldn't get access to? And yeah, I just think Forms Recognizer 2.1, there's so many good things in there. Go check out the documentation, because it's not just the actual process of either doing a supervised machine learning approach, so you give it data where it's fully labeled and it learns, or unsupervised, you just give it some forms and it will analyze as much as it can the key value pairs, but also things like labeling tools, best practices for what kind of training data that should be in there, costs, stuff like that. There's all these pieces that go around each one of these services, and I would say a lot of it then relates almost back to that responsible AI message, where for example, for the training data, we're kind of saying this is what works well and this is what doesn't. It's super transparent what this service is doing and where it will be really, really useful to you. And then thinking about, okay, if this, again, like that cognitive services, if this isn't working, can we build our own? The whole 80-20 rule. But yeah, Forms Recognizer, if you've not checked it out, if you're processing any kind of form, any kind of standard input that you want to get that data out of and analyze a little bit more, go and check out that service. It's been a real winner.
It's a really neat service. And then we have the last one before Ignite, the immersive reader. I think that's just beautiful how Microsoft really works also on the inclusiveness of any kind of people to help with reading, to understand what they're reading, also for visual aids and so on. So that's really a good one too. And then we go to Ignite. 2 slides, no, 1. We have again new stuff for machine learning, like the designer that then went into GA, the labeling assist that goes into GA. So that's not so much longer after it came into preview. I think before, the release cycles were way longer, and now it's like in 1 month it's in preview and the next month it's already going to GA. So that's like amazing. And then yeah, we had basic and enterprise edition of machine learning. Well, let's just skip that and we make one of it. So, which was the difference between having designer or not, I think, and some other small functionalities. And then some new services that got added. We have Metrics Advisor, which helps more to find insights within streaming data, if I'm correct. And then we have spatial analysis, which was a really nice use case this year, actually, to figure out counting people within a space instead of just on a picture. So to have a 3D analysis on it. And then, yeah, a lot of new, a lot of services, again, that got containerized, anomaly detection that went into GA, and again, new languages and locals for speech. If I'm correct, there's over 70 languages now or vocals already for speech, which is a lot. So well done. And then we go reaching the end of the year. 14th of October, we reached human parity in image captioning, which is quite a very, it's not easy to see what's on a picture and then explain it. But hey, with some tests, well, with the data sets we have to do the tests, we reached the same quality as what a human would do. So that's very impressive.
I was going to say, I always like to caveat this though. So we when it happened with speech, quite a while ago, a few years ago, I believe, and we reached human parity. And so sometimes when people think human parity means 100% correct all the time, just want to give you the news, we're not always correct as people. And so human parity is that element is as good as what a human might be able to do on the percentage rate of like it is that it's of good like quality, hopefully anyway. And so speech was a good one that they hit a while ago from in Microsoft Research and lots of other research organizations. And so it's great to see it for image as well. That's both of them incredibly hard problems to solve. So it's really, really impressive.
True. And then we have a language that got added for translator. Again, it's a language that is not purely a standard language, but a dialect or with some extra words, a Canadian French. Excuse me if I'm not explaining it well for my Canadian friends, what a Canadian French is. Q&A Maker got some serious upgrade because it's using deep learning, better ranking, but also short answers, which is really cool. So when you ask a question, instead of just giving the whole answer that you had inputted into Q&A Maker, it will actually look for a specific sentence or within that answer. So that's also cool. For now, only in English, if I'm correct.
Yeah, and also like if you are creating, so if you're out there and you're like Q&A Maker, like what's that? How's that AI sort of thing? If you are using Q&A Maker, they come partner with conversational AI or chatbots, and so literally I always demo it this way. I'm basically like, I can build, say in something like Bot Framework Composer, a dialogue of what I want to achieve. So I might want to ask for lots of data input and then book a vacation for an employee or something like that. But there is also this element that you've probably got a lot of frequently asked questions, maybe on a web page if you're a business, and that all of that goodness, all of that information can be fed directly into your chatbot, so that when myself as a customer comes to talk on your web page, your bot has many different things that it can answer. And so I always show it where I build it to do one thing and then add Q&A Maker, and all of a sudden you just see this massive flexibility that it's got to be able to answer lots of frequently asked questions. So if you don't know what it is, go try it. It works hand in hand, and there's a good experience inside Composer, Bot Framework Composer as well.
We were talking at the beginning of the new stuff about stream analytics and machine learning, how the product team started to work together on that. But recently I was talking to someone of the product team of from Azure Search, and they're working now together they did some tests of a combination of Azure Search with Q&A Maker, which gave some really nice results also. So I'm looking forward also to what that is going to bring in the future. All right, we're reaching the end. Again, new voices that got added, new features to automated machine learning, where you could change some stuff to your features. Now you can do comparison between your experiments and custom views, so you can put them next to each other, which makes it very handy instead of switching your experiments all the time. And then we reach the end of the year. So what's coming this year? What will change in 2022 or already has changed? So we already have 1 month of data. We have the Microsoft Healthcare bot that has actually moved now within Azure. So now it's called Azure Health Bot, which has been used incredibly a lot, I think, this year by so many hospitals and governmental institutes. The data labeling got extended with image instance segmentation also in preview. And then the output dataset, which was just a couple of months ago, just in preview, is now in GA. And there it stops for what I could find.
So there was also released yesterday. So there's, in fact,
okay.
Sammy, if you want to, here we go. I'll post it to you if you want to share it. There's a blog out there, February the 3rd, 2021. So yesterday, the custom neural voice also got further improvements to it. And there's a brilliant blog post there. If you've not read into it before, it's a really interesting concept. But there's also obviously, again, a lot of responsible AI and how you build and manage these types of services. Because of how powerful they can be. And so this blog post, I think, is a really, really good example of kind of truly understanding the service, what it can be used for. And there's also some good fun examples of how people are using it already as well. So that I always think that's useful with AI. When you see examples, we've seen it on a lot of community talks here. If someone brings what they've built with it, I think it automatically sparks so many great ideas for us all. And so, yeah, highly recommend go check out a cool blog post around that.
Yeah. Now, I created one more slide more about what will change in 2021. So I'll give the word to you guys because I'm not working for Microsoft. So what can you tell us? I know there's a lot of things we cannot say, but hey, no one is looking, so just say it to us.
Wish that was true. not with that at all. Henk, do you want to take the first one? I know you're super genuine with sort of that developer side of AI as well, which is great.
Yes, yeah, I think that path that we've chosen to democratize AI, that will just continue in 2021. And I also think that services become more and more integrated into each other. And I think one good example is Azure Media Services for once. So Azure Media Services is the traditional service where you can stream content from. But they have added now the real-time captioning part, which is actually using the speech service underneath. And I think, that's my personal opinion, I think we will see a lot of these services combine in this year. One service building on top of the other, creating this better experience for actually the customer. Because how cool is it that you can just switch your language your captioning on real time and have pretty good captions.
It's what we saw also starting in PowerPoint, now on Teams for some tenants with automated captioning. That's really cool.
Yeah, and
again, that brings also the inclusiveness.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's something we forget to tell also. Yeah. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so automatic captioning is at the moment not a replacement for a real captioner, because if like a few words are wrong in a sentence and you can't hear anything, then of course you are completely off. But it is a good start.
Exactly. Then we have a responsible AI. Amy, can you say something about that?
Yeah, I was going to say, responsible AI is a really interesting area, and I think it's massively, hugely progressed over the last few years. I always think there's an interesting talk. It's one of my favorite keynotes, I think, ever, by Kate Crawford at the NeurIPS conference in the past, and she did an amazing session. I remember her showing. I hope it was this talk. Ethical AI or ethics in AI type papers, and a number of them, and she put the years along the bottom, and they've like exponentially grown. And so it is definitely an area that's been heavily invested in, and then we're seeing it obviously meet us over in real life or in enterprise, in customers, etc. One of my favorite things, I posted a link just in the chat for you there, Sammy, if you want to share that with everyone. Fabulous. I was going to say, this is a really, really cool piece. I actually got it from Hannah Wallach, who we spoke with at Microsoft Build. So this was obviously back with Build, but obviously all these things are always updating and being improved. But it's even just guidelines. And so I always kind of do that push that says, responsible AI, sometimes when you see some of the tooling, it feels like it's just for data scientists. It's for them to sort out the bias in data sets. It's for them to know what's going on in those. But I would definitely say that responsible AI is everyone's responsibility. So I personally see it as similar to security. When we design security in from the start, it's better and it's cheaper to do. If we latch it on at the end, it's like putting a plaster on something. It's not going to be as successful, and it'll probably cost you more. So I almost see responsible AI the same. If we design it in, if we ask questions and we not necessarily like follow guidelines. There are lots of great guidelines on that website, conversational AI guidelines if you're building a chatbot, just things to consider. And what are they? They're all learnings. They're learnings from people who are in the space working on these things and then sharing them. And so as much as we're obviously providing different guidelines around responsible AI, and highly recommend taking a look before building projects, but also please share back your experience as well. You know, this is the global AI community. This is a community where everyone is welcome to share their story, whether you've done public speaking ever before. It's not the point, it's the story that's the most important part. And so if you do have something to share, I think that's the way that we truly learn, by seeing what people have done, and also maybe ways you've worked around it, or ways you've solved a problem, or maybe it's just, this didn't go so well, like, don't do this. And they're cool. Some of those talks, some of the best talks you see, when someone just goes, these are all the things that went wrong. Like, so yeah, for responsible AI, I think it's everyone's job. Use those links, read more into the area if you are working on projects in AI.
We actually had some very nice AI talks also about responsible AI. I can't recall on her name. It was a lady from the US also, and how she explained certain things around bias. We had a talk also from a researcher from Holland. Henk, you introduced me to her. Yeah, sorry, I forgot your name, but the idea was like, based on what you're looking at, for example, in YouTube, that you would get other videos that's, somehow you're biased to certain IDs, because they will show you the things you like, and it might be each time those things that are biased. So that's a bit the danger also, for example, recommending engines. Then we come to conversational AI.
Sammy, you mentioned Gary earlier. I was chatting with Gary this morning, so I definitely wanted to share a little bit of some of the things he was chatting about. Conversational AI. So I think some exciting pieces, and I think we can see things right from the trends of things that are being released. Speech and language, etc., are big ones. So in conversational AI, speech is an exciting area, as well as text. So bringing these two things together, when is the right form to use, which type of option in some senses. So that's a really, really cool one. There was another piece that we chatted about, and that is some conversational analytics, and actually understanding, not just building a bot, because we know, right, with AI is like, I always think of it like a pet almost. Like, you have to look after it, right? Like, you don't just let it off and go and do what it wants. You kind of have to like keep it well and check in on it and all of that kind of things. Like, you don't take it for a walk or anything like that, but you do have to kind of look after it, because it's a growing thing. It will always improve, and it will also change with the data or with real life that's happening around it. I see that the same for conversational AI. And so conversational analytics is kind of that idea of thinking about what are people using your chatbot for, and learning from that, right? We do that with most technology when we think in software engineering. We analyze with using something like application insights is a great example, right? If you have an application, you learn how people are using it, and it allows you to then improve the actual service. I almost see that chatbots are kind of in a similar way. And there's a really nice, I have another link for you, Sammy. Here we go. There's a really nice GitHub around customer service conversational insights, and it's like an architecture and best practice of how you can do this. And so highly recommend like going and taking a look at that. I do think as we go from building, say, more basic chatbots that are doing great things within the industry, how can we continuously improve, and how can we add more usefulness for our customers, for our end users? I think this is a great way to do it. So highly recommend looking into that.
And I think more languages will be added also this year. We already have so many. I would be shocked if we don't add more.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it, right, we have the translation API. So this idea where we're layering services together and we're connecting them all, translation could be part of a chatbot. So it's a good way to think about that. Q&A Maker is obviously a cognitive service that you use. LUIS, Language Understanding Intelligence Service, LUIS, LUIS, is another one that's highly used in chatbots. And so if you think you're pulling all together all of these different functionalities to build intelligence, it's really impressive.
Yeah. All right, last point, AI for the enterprise. I think, to my opinion, there's already done a lot of work on it. If you think about it's more on the infrastructure side. How are we going to do a secure development of all the services? Talking to them through container services, it might sometimes be possible to put stuff in a VNet. Same for machine learning services, which are available in VNets, to just link everything into how your enterprise wants to see the architecture. Cool. You still want to add something, Amy?
Oh, always. One of the fun things is AI for enterprise. So you were mentioning, like in Azure Machine Learning Service. I've always thought, and this, believe this has been there for a while, role-based access control is such an interesting one there, because Azure Machine Learning Service or Azure Machine Learning Studio there has always been this idea that it's like personas that use different things, right? So you're going to have maybe someone in an enterprise who sets up the Azure Machine Learning Service, but they are not maybe the data scientist. The data scientist is going to live in the studio experience and use that. And so the ability to easily have scalable compute that scales up and then automatically scales back down again, or access even to that compute, right? All of this compute costs money. And so, thinking about what you can create and how you share it with others in a data science team, I just think it's a real good one with inside Azure Machine Learning to think about that kind of team-based approach to data science as well. So yeah, definitely something that might be of interest.
Even if you add also open source to it, for example, Visual Studio Code, the integration with machine learning services, or just with the whole Azure stack for Azure functions and everything, which is, it's quite neat also how it's done. So, Henk, I'll give you the word also before we say our finishing notes.
Yes. Yeah, I will not talk to that. I don't think I have any more to add to the AI for enterprise, but I want to add that I would love to see how the global AI community will evolve this year. I'm really looking forward to all the events. Of course, Amy, me, and the rest of my team are here to support you, support the new board, and curious to see what is going to happen.
Yeah, me too. Let's make a start to the BAM soon in April for the AI nights. And then the next will get there. Cool. So for all the ones who are still watching, thanks very much for joining today. Not next week, but the week after that. So in 2 weeks, we'll have another AI talks with, sorry, I was just reading a comment of one, with a friend of mine who actually created his own company, who created a package called NannyML for AI monitoring. So we'll have a little interview and he will show around what the tool does. So I'm really looking forward also to that one. So Henk and Amy, thank you very much for joining this evening. We're always glad to have you on board for our sessions. So I
Thank you for having us, Sammy. It's been a pleasure. Oh no, have we lost Sammy again? Not right at the end.
So.
Surely not. No. Is he back? Oh,
I'm here.
Oh.
Yes. Hi, Sammy.
Again, yeah, it's only on 40. Yeah, I'm glad my phone is surviving, but whatever. All right, so I ended up. Hope to see you in 2 weeks, and thanks for joining. See you all, guys.
Thanks so much.
Hey, my name's Apansha Malik, and I'm from Melbourne.
Excellent, Sammy. It's Val here.
Hi, I'm Alan Smith.
Hi, I'm Amy.
Amy, Neighbor Test. I come from
I'm
Spanish.
Prasant from California.
大家好，我是卢建辉，I'm Netherlands.
I'm Fantasy from Australia.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Marsman from the United States.
Hi, I'm Agatha Gupta from India.
Hi, I'm Matthew Renton from the USA.
I'm Joe Spizak from California. Hi, Midi Eddie Daoud, Greece, Africana.
Hi, I'm Anna from London.
Merhaba, ben Türkiye'den Daron Yönden.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey.
And we're still live.
Oh.
At least that is what it says in the corner there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Somebody is calling. So he
This
can't
is what
stop.
this is what it looks like backstage. The same as it does front of stage. Love a good
Not
online.
printable.
Not at all. Just gotta.
I think we're just going to
What are we up to next? Okay.
Bye everyone.
No
Yeah.
worries. Well, thank you, everyone.